Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Hello, one and all. It's time to down tools and clock off for a little while at least. Whatever you're working on, it's done for the time being. Welcome to TGITTWMD. Welcome to Thank God It's Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's lineup, we've got a couple of interesting stories about technology in the wild. We'll see how in Japan, engineers are using robotics to scare the pants off some unsuspecting bears and hopefully make the streets of some regional cities a little safer. And for our listeners who fancy their skills in bushcraft and hunting, we'll take a look at how modern technology can enhance the experience in 2026. And we'll take a look at the blooper reel in some security cameras when AI uses its imagination to identify what it thinks it's seeing. All that and more still to come. But before we get any of this underway, let's first of all bring the resident techspert in. After all, he's the one with the details. Welcome to the microphone, Matthew Dickerson.
Thank you very much, James Eddy. And I've had a fun week this week. Always lots of interesting things happening. But I got the chance to go and see Split Enz on one of their revival tours.
Fantastic.
Split Enz, I remember from the 70s and 80s. I Got You and I See Red and all sorts of great classics.
Back when writing songs was actually writing songs.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the skills and talent on display on the stage was all natural musicians doing their thing. I get a bit frustrated when I hear someone called a muso and you see them on stage and they're just mixing music. They're a DJ, and I think, is that a musician? Can they play an instrument? Is that good enough?
I'm not that much of a snob that I exclude them, but I do appreciate someone who's playing it all from scratch.
Yeah.
And, people like Ed Sheeran, he's got his loop machine or whatever,
Yep.
I fully appreciate that because he's doing all these other bits and pieces as well, and he's just putting it all together, and I appreciate that. Like, technology's got its place, but I do like a band that's playing it from scratch.
I do. And I
also like a cake that's made from scratch as well.
God, I'll keep
Call
them
me
on for your
old-fashioned.
birthday. But I am a bit of a fan of Ed Sheeran too, just for how he does it. And I remember seeing him at a concert recently, and he went through and he explains what he does with his looping machine in concert, which I love.
Yeah.
And he talked about, he said, so when I was 14, I think he was, when he got his first loop machine, you can imagine his parents going, oh, Edward wants this loop machine thing. Oh, should we get it for him? And there would have been this debate back and forth. And they probably look back now and go, good decision. But he says, it's just the same as this loop machine. Here, this is what I do. The same thing. He said, actually, well, no, this new one's a little bit better than the one I had when I was 14, but the concept is the same. But what I did love with Split Enz, talking about traditionalists and using your raw skills, was Noel Crombie in Split Enz was known for a range of things. He was a bit different.
Oh, he looked quirky. He had that quirky look about him, didn't
Quirky's better than different. He's a bit quirky. I like that. And he designed, I think him and his wife actually designed all the costumes, the different costumes.
The quirkiness, the Split Enz. They were unique, weren't they?
They absolutely were. But I knew that the concert hadn't finished, which it never does when they go off stage the first time, but there's always something you think, oh, hold on, they haven't done something that they're known for. And when they went off the stage the first time and everyone's going, encore, then I knew they were coming back because Noel hadn't played the spoons yet. And I thought, surely you can't have a Split Enz concert, a revival Split Enz concert.
And everyone stood up and applauded.
He was actually brilliant. So it is as simple as two spoons.
There's nothing like a spoon solo.
Well, I know it. I feel like I'm being judged here, but it sounds trivial, but he's actually very clever on the spoons.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that he's highly talented. He's had a lot of time to practice.
Yes.
But, the spoons. Hard to draw a crowd outside of a busking in the more in Manly or whatever.
We had a packed
spoons.
stadium there that
Packed
was watching him play the spoon. Well, watching the whole concert, but I'm sure he tells his grandkids that, yep, I had 10,000 people sitting around watching me play the spoons.
And you're going to watch me now.
That's right.
Now sit still.
So raw musical talent, I thought, was absolutely there in that scenario.
Yeah, wonderful. What an experience.
Yes.
All right, we better get these stories rolling. They say that a picture tells 1,000 words. Well, when you've got a digital camera sitting perpetually in your pocket, it's just so much easier to take a photo than to spend an hour or two looking for the right words to do justice to the scenery you've just been looking at. Who has time for that? Well, folks, for the true romantics among us, the ones with poetry in their hearts at every sunset, every majestic panorama, there may be a two birds with one stone type of solution here now that we have AI on the case. It's a camera that'll print you some poetry instead of a picture. Now, Alfred Joyce Kilmer wrote, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Well, Matt, We can put that to the test now.
I took out my camera with a plan to capture a photo of dear old Nan. But out with a whir came a sonnet for her and a limerick written for Dan.
Ah.
Now, that wasn't written by a camera. That was written by good old-fashioned me. And I'm in two minds with this story. I'm a bit offended, a bit insulted, because I like to write poetry, and I like to write poetry.
This camera is not for you.
And it's not for me, well, but I do like the idea of poetry still being alive, so this is why I'm in two minds. And I remember as a kid I had this beautiful bound copy of Roget's Thesaurus that I used to use when I was writing poetry, and my parents must have recognised that I enjoyed it, so they gave me this beautiful copy of it. And then when the internet thing came along, I actually felt like I was cheating, because I used to go to a site called I still do, a site called rhymezone.com, and I put in a word that I'm struggling to get a rhyme for, and it gives me a bunch of words that rhyme, and I go, oh, do I feel a bit dirty now? I'm cheating. Banjo Patterson didn't have rhymezone.com. What am I doing?
Have we got a word that rhymes with orange or silver yet?
We haven't got
Not
orange
even yet.
No,
even
no.
like when in the era of making up words.
The best you can come up with for orange is that you use the word orange as a fruit and the word orange as a colour, and then if you can, use the word orange as a town.
Nah, lazy. That's lazy.
That's right. So I kind of like the idea. Well, I do feel like I'm cheating, but then again, am I cheating using a Roget's Thesaurus? Is that using the modern tool or the tool of the time 100 years ago?
Well,
So
artists have got to use a paintbrush, right?
So
Artists still need a muse. So I think Roget's Thesaurus is a little bit of like the paintbrush, right?
right. So what about rhymezone.com? Am I cheating when I use that? Because I feel like I am, but I do it. So I kind of feel dirty while I'm doing it, going, I shouldn't be doing this, but it's just I've got this word that I can't rhyme.
I can't help you there.
Right. Okay.
You're going to have to wrestle with that one yourself.
Okay, so you can't give me a philosophical decision on that. My moral compass will have to be my own. So this camera is pretty cool in what it does, and we say it so often. You go back 5 years ago, 10 definitely, this would not have been possible in a small, compact camera-sized device to be able to have a device that would take an image, not a photo, it's just an image, interpret that image, and then create some poetry based on that image. Now, it doesn't give you a 3-minute long poem. It doesn't give you a classic Banjo Patterson 14-syllable bush poem, but it gives
Doesn't have enough paper in it. It's like a Polaroid, isn't it?
It's like a Polaroid
Yeah,
size.
right. It's got to measure out that paper.
It has a small, it's almost like a receipt printer paper that you get when you
Okay.
go to a cash register in a shop. And so you take that image, you don't get a photo, you don't get an image of that at all. It will just simply print out a bit of poetry. Now, you can choose. There's a little button at the top that you turn around. It's got about
For
8...
dirty limerick or...
I don't know if it's got dirty limerick. It's got limerick, but you can program that. So it's got 8 stops on there, 8 little sections it can go to. And you can say, program, for example, 1 to be a sonnet and 2 to be free verse and 3 to be a limerick or whatever. And literally you'll then do that and it will interpret that scene. Now, this is the clever part, the AI part, where it sees a scene and says, right, I'm looking at that scene just like a poet sitting on the hill looking out across the land and going, I'm going to write a beautiful poem about this that I see. And so it interprets that. You might take a photo or an image of a bustling city and suddenly you get some poetry that's really about that bustling sort of congested, terrible city, whereas you look at these beautiful open fields and the mood seems like better. You take a photo of a birthday party, it'll give you a mood or a high mood sort of poem about that. So it interprets not just the scenery but the feel of the mood.
So I'm getting this romantic scene in my head right now. You're sitting on the hillside in a meadow, looking out over a valley or a beautiful view, and you're sitting there at 20-something or whatever, and you have got your girlfriend there, and you pull out the camera, you take a photo, it spits out this poem, and you just hand her the poem.
Well, if you're really clever, you do it on the side, and then you just you look at it.
Let me just recite this for you I came to my head.
It just came into my head while you're looking the other way.
The age
there.
of romance is still alive.
I don't know how quiet it is. I haven't actually heard. So if you can just do it without making a noise.
But do you even get the picture of what you've taken a
photo?
No,
you don't get the
picture.
There is no picture produced. So that's when I say take a picture. It's taking an image and interpreting that image. So I do like the idea.
You're just hoping it sees what you see. And it doesn't see the rusty old car in the corner.
Maybe if it doesn't, then you take another one and keep going. Or you change your knob and go, I don't want free verse, I want a sonnet now.
But
or
I've
whatever.
got this attractive girl next to me and I'm trying to, like, how many times can you press the button and read it and then check and spell check and all that?
Or maybe you go, I just remembered something in the car, and you run over to the car and take a few photos. So I do like the idea that poetry is still alive. I like the idea that we haven't forgotten about poetry. And let's face it, when we hear songs, they're just poems with music. So poetry is still alive. But
some of the songs are poetry.
Yeah,
with
some of them, they get the rhyming words wrong. But for general, I just think poetry should be a part of our society going forward. And if it means we've got a camera that's doing it for us rather than us writing, it's still there. But it does feel a bit cheap and nasty when you're taking those beautiful photos of your girlfriend. And, and you want to say something. I didn't know you had a girlfriend, James. Well done. Thank you.
No, and please don't tell my wife. Okay. Cybercrime has taken on another form as scammers adopt yet another strategy to tear our digital purses from our clutches. They're getting clever and more wily. In this latest scam, an elaborate hoax that scammers took on the role of police, which is not new, of course, but they prized the cash out of the victim. It was quite a brutish sort of fashion, Matt.
This is one of those ones where I thought I'd seen just about all the different types of scams that are out there.
No.
And this is a new one.
Yeah,
and I've gone,
no, they keep on inventing new ways.
Unbelievable, aren't they?
So we've all got to be on our guard all the time.
That's right. So this is one that seems innocent enough. And the exact example I found was from an Indian comedian who talked about her story about exactly what had happened. But it's not a unique story. This is happening to many people out there. They ship a parcel overseas. Now, that's not that unusual. I've got a brother that lives in America, a sister that lives in New Zealand, so it's not unusual around their birthdays, around Christmas for me to ship an international parcel. No big deal. I find something very Aussie just to remind them about what Australia's like and send it off to them. That's it as far as I'm concerned. They get it and they say, thanks very much for my birthday or Christmas present. But in this scenario, this particular person sent a parcel overseas. Again, no big deal. Then she got a phone call from the police, in inverted commas, from that particular country. We've picked up the parcel that you've sent and there are drugs contained within it. So obviously you're posting drugs. So you can imagine there's a bit of a fear factor there. Someone accused you of posting drugs. There might be some severe penalties. They sounded that convincing that they put her under digital arrest. There is no such thing. But they did a video call with her.
Nobody knows that.
That's right. And they convinced her that unless she complied, she had to leave her camera on, she had to stay housebound, she couldn't make a phone call, she couldn't do anything because just like you're in jail, you haven't got access to the world's outside resources. So stay there, we're going to watch you, you're under digital arrest until we work out what to do. And of course, other steps then happen. You'll need to be represented by a solicitor. We've got a solicitor here that's on call for you, so you can use them to represent you if you like. Of course, they're going to charge you a fee. And so this poor woman, and again, many examples of this, so fearful about what might happen to her. Imagine being convicted of taking drugs into a country, and they would usually use a country where the penalties are fairly severe for importing drugs into that country. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, is it the death penalty? Am I going to end up in jail for life? What do you need to do? And so in this example, she paid $16,000 in various fees to finally get out of that. It was an 8-hour ordeal. So she's sitting there under house arrest, under digital arrest, in front of a camera, going through all these negotiations, talking to these people, and it sounded pretty scary and intimidating. But again, $16,000. That was one example. But this is the sort of thing that scammers are doing. They come up with new plans all the time. You can just imagine their brainstorming session sitting around, right, what are we going to do next? And someone would have suggested this. There was no way we can get away with that. Hold on. We can go down to the friendly costume shop, get a few police uniforms out. Who knows what the police uniform is in this particular country?
And it seems like the format is talk fast and offer a big prize, or talk fast and offer a big threat.
Yeah.
And that puts people, that changes the wiring in the brain, so they drop their guard and they've either got to work quickly to gain the prize or work quickly to defend themselves.
That's right. And the pressure. I think that's the thing.
The pressure.
That's right. So you're making it a pressure situation.
So you're not thinking, well, okay, 8 hours sitting on this digital arrest, you can't send someone around to my house to confirm any of this. Maybe they end up doing that. I don't know. I just, anytime you think, is that as far as they're going to go? go, no, they go further than
They go
that.
further and they keep coming with
And it
different
becomes
ideas.
more and more elaborate. And, if they go fishing and it doesn't work to start off with, they can just try someone else,
Yeah, that's right. I had an email come through the other day and it looked legitimate and everything that it said was legitimate, but I couldn't help myself. I rang the company through an external phone number, not the one that came through in the email, and just said, I've got this email. So, yeah, we sent you that email. I said, right, good. Just wanted to make sure because it looked okay, but there was something about it that didn't look quite right. I was just a little bit concerned, but no, you've confirmed it now. Thanks very much. And I just feel almost suspicious of everything that I get now when I see this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We talk about scams too much.
I know.
It's making me
But
suspicious.
I'm going to fully confess to our audience as well. Sometimes you're just working so fast and you've got so much on your mind that just in an instant you drop your guard.
Yeah.
And so, I knew I needed more cloud space. And there was an email that came through saying your cloud space is about to expire, so we need to update your thing. Just click on this link. And I just quickly went, oh, shit, sorry, excuse my French. I better fix that up. And so I just clicked on it. And then after about a second or two of the whirring happening in the background, I thought, I've just broken all the rules about cybersecurity. If you're tired, if you're busy, you've got a lot of stuff on your mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. So it is very easy. So that's the latest one. This is really a PSA, public service announcement. Just be aware there's another one out there that might catch you off guard. And again, that fear, that intimidation, that pressure, that deadline. The deadline is really the thing, isn't it? Whether you say it's a fear deadline, consequences, or it's you'll miss out on some sort of bonus if you don't capture this deadline.
Anyway. Changes are happening in the fashion industry and the humble needle and thread may soon become a thing of the past. Sewing is a tricky business and floppy fabrics are better managed with the subtle understanding that human brains and the delicate touch of human fingers can manage. It's taken 11,000 years to get as good at textiles as we have. So, in a robotic world, where we're looking more and more towards innovation in robotic forms, it turns out that Metal Mickey is all thumbs when it comes to the intricate nature of needlework. So the robot revolution is just doing away with stitching and picking up a glue gun, Matt.
Yeah, why not? Robots do struggle with stitches. It's something that you need humans still. We've got some things, thank goodness, that we still need humans for to manipulate that. As you say, floppy fabrics, they're hard for a robot to manipulate. They're not going to put a stitch or a needle through their finger, presumably, so they're not worried about that.
But there's an unpredictability when you're playing around with fabrics.
Yeah, exactly right. So that is a problem. And the issue that we have, I get a bit frustrated in this country that we produce cotton, we produce wool, and then we send it overseas to presumably some Asian nations normally where some low-paid workers then turn that into clothing that we then buy back from those countries. And wouldn't it make more sense to do that here in this nation? But we pay wages that are way too high to make those clothing bits and pieces of a reasonable price. So that's the dilemma we have. I see that a lot of the automation we're seeing across the world may be a bit of the saviour for manufacturing in places like Australia. And this example I've got here is probably similar in America, where you've got that same problem, and there's some American companies that are trying to work out ways they can be in the clothing manufacturing industry without the low-paid workers that some of the other countries have around the world. So there's one company in California called Create Me, and they're basically doing a process where they'll cut the fabric, and I watched the robotic process that cut the fabric out, and then literally glues it. Instead of stitching the actual edges, which is, as you say, a bit tricky, and it's got a bit of floppy fabric and you're trying to get a stitch through it, it actually lines up glue on those, and then when it basically takes the two pieces and glues those two pieces together, so you end up with almost a seamless T-shirt, for example. So as the two pieces are together, a bit like a paper bag where you don't fold them against each other and then fold it out. You just put them aligned along each other, glue it together, so you end up with a subtle seam, but not something that sticks out into your inside.
So, it just, for mine, I just feel like I can't trust this. Don't put this T-shirt on, and after one wear, a bit of heat and a bit of jostling, a bit of moving, and boom, there, everyone can see my naked torso.
You've got a front to a T-shirt and a back to a T-shirt and nothing in between. So supposedly it will handle washing, handle ironing, and I thought the ironing was an interesting part because presumably there would be, I'm guessing, heat and pressure that would be used
And steam
to seal
potentially,
that.
yep.
And then you put the iron on it, you kind of think it would undo some of that. But apparently it's good for ironing. You can iron it, you can wash it.
You don't want to
can
spill
wear it.
any of this glue because you're sticking everything together with that.
Don't put it on your fingers. The robot, don't get on your fingers, Mr. Robot, because you're in trouble. So this is quite interesting from that perspective. There's another company called Robo-Textile, which is a German company, and they've got robotic grippers that use airflow and suction to try and use some more traditional methods to try and lift and position fabrics and not necessarily glue in that particular case. So they're doing things like automotive airbags, stitching those. So things that are a bit more predictable in their size rather than lots of different sizes for clothes. And that's one of the issues. We don't just want clothing, we want it in different sizes, different shapes, different colours, a whole range of varieties there. So I like the idea, though, that we've got some potential for robotics in an area that maybe didn't have potential before. That might scare people about jobs being lost, but I think of this nation, I go, we're not losing many jobs if we don't have people putting clothes together because there's not many people doing it right now. So, it's a fascinating area. We are getting better with robotics for some of those niche areas that haven't had robotics in the past. Car manufacturing, put that spot wheel on that spot there and it'll do it over and over and over.
Metal behaves itself a little bit more, doesn't it?
It does, and it's got the same shape car, whatever volume of that particular car model, and it's going to do the same thing over and over and over. So very effective there. But there's other industries that are learning about robotics where it isn't quite as predictable.
And it has taken 11,000 years for us to really get really, really good with textiles.
Yeah,
the first wave of fabrics were 11,000 years old. So, I just to now try and teach these robots how to do it in a click of the fingers.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah. Now, here's a memory of mine as a youngster. I remember clearly the utter paralysing terror that was brought on by Leonard Bernstein's Peter and the Wolf on 12-inch vinyl. If you know, you know. It's a fantastic story, and Bernstein's orchestral score was phenomenal, but I tell you, the theme music of The Wolf left me trembling in my jocks and plagued my nightmares at bedtime. I'm in a cold sweat just reliving it right now. Wolves are terrifying, folks, and we don't even have them in Australia to worry about. But if there is one thing scarier than a wolf, it's a robotic wolf, and that's why in Japan they're using robotic wolves to scare away the bears, Matt.
That sounds good, doesn't it? It reminded me of my favourite dad joke, actually, the old, I'm sure you know the answer, why did the scarecrow win an award?
Well, that's page 34 of the Dad Joke book. And it was outstanding in its field.
Yes, love it. So this is a big problem apparently in Japan. So 50,000 bear sightings reported last year. I mean, I've been to Japan a number of times and I've never seen a bear. Mind you, I've never been out walking in the woods, so maybe that's where the issue is. But as you get more habitat loss, you're getting more urban development, and you've got less food supplies, some of these bears are coming closer to towns, closer to farms, closer to small communities.
Yeah.
And this is the scary part, last year, 200 people injured by bears and 13 people killed in bear attacks.
Wow.
So I didn't realise this was an issue in Japan. So, and you do have an ageing population in Japan, so they would be particularly vulnerable to a bear attack out in some of these areas. So the wolf is the robotic scarecrow that has been created. Now, this was created about 10 years ago by a Japanese manufacturer, and it's been upgraded over the years, and we've now got to the point where we've got a wolf, which looks like a scary wolf, as you say, that whole concept of a scary wolf, glowing red LED eyes.
Of course.
Sharp fangs, which I found interesting on a robotic wolf. It's got some solar panels, but the solar panels aren't part of the wolf. The solar panels you put off maybe 5 or 10 metres away. So the wolf stands there by itself without solar panels on its back, because that might be a bit of a giveaway to the bears. So you could see a little line run along the ground, or just tuck it under the ground, and you put the solar panels off to the side. So you always have it powered.
Sorry, so these wolves aren't like free enough to be walking the streets?
Well, not yet, but yes,
Not
maybe.
yet.
So you've got motion sensors.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
So just a mental note, not to buy James a wolf for Christmas. So they've got motion sensors, they've got loudspeakers, and so you would put it, this is the first iteration, you would put it in your yard. Let's say you backed onto a reserve, a nature reserve, for example. You'd put it in your backyard, and then there's motion sensors and loudspeakers. So when these motion sensors triggered by whatever. It doesn't necessarily know it's a bear, but by whatever, it just starts flashing lights. The eyes, you can just see the eerie red LED lights in the eyes start to flash, and it's got various sounds. So it's got sirens, it's got barking dogs, it's got human voices. Who knew human voices were so scary?
Yeah, that'd scare me if I was a bear.
That's right.
That wolf's supposed to sound like a wolf. It sounds like a human.
Now I'm confused. So that all seems to work quite effectively. They're that popular at the moment that if you order one today, it's about a 3-month wait because they just can't keep up production of these wolves. So that's now, but they've also got a future version that they're building that's got wheels, so it could actually patrol your property, just maybe up and down in a certain section, enough for it to just be there, and the bear goes, there was nothing there yesterday and today there's something there. Oh my gosh, it's a wolf! And it runs away. And then you've also got, and I love this one, portable handheld versions for hikers and school children and outdoor workers.
So you can just drop your wolf and go, stand back, I have a wolf.
So a bear's attacking, hold on a sec, in my backpack I have a wolf, and you pull it out and you sit on the ground and activate. That's right. So, I don't know, maybe you put it around the campsite.
But it scares the hell out of me.
It might make you run faster the other way. So this is a big thing, though, in terms of being able to try and keep people safe.
Yeah.
But, I just... It seems funny, doesn't it? It seems almost too simple. We just create something that looks like a wolf, maybe a bit. It's not even that accurate. I looked at the picture of it. It didn't look really like a wolf.
That's the worst version of a wolf I've ever seen.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, well, and maybe if it's got the music to Peter and the Wolf, like the theme music for the wolf fighting in the background, that'll be enough to haunt that bear for his life.
So this will give something for the conspiracy theorists to jump all over. The conservation efforts and reduced hunting that's been introduced in Japan has meant that the Asian black bear and brown bear population have been increasing in recent years. So we often hear about various populations of animals decreasing because of a whole range of reasons. But the actual things they've been putting in place in Japan have been working, but maybe too well now. Yeah. So we've got too many. So can we relax on some of those?
Also, I was talking to someone, I can't remember if you mentioned it already in the story, that that smaller towns are losing population to the cities. And so that's also encouraging bears. They know there's not as much of a threat in the town as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. So they can see food, maybe easy food, easier than going and finding a wolf for some food, or just see some food on the back porch of someone's place.
Yeah,
there's other robotic animal deterrents being used in various places. So, for example, vineyards, fisheries, they're trying to reduce wildlife, but airports. Now, airports is a big issue. I know of some airports in regional locations that the first thing the staff do early in the morning before any flights leave or land is go looking for kangaroos. They go down the runway looking for kangaroos.
I thought you were going to say shoo away the bears. It's a pretty quick job when you're in Australia.
That's right, yeah. I've got the new bear deterrent. It's guaranteed to keep away the bears. But kangaroos are an issue.
Yeah, of course. So if you're trying to land a plane or take a plane off and you clip an animal on...
Correct. Whatever animal it is. But we've seen what animals, most people in Australia, in regional Australia, have hit a kangaroo at some stage. Yeah. It makes a mess of the front of your car. And so you can imagine having that hit the front of a plane at any speed in takeoff or landing. It's not going to be a pretty sight, and probably a bit of damage to the plane as well. So keeping kangaroos off runways in Australia is a big issue, not so much bears, but maybe these sort of deterrents, these sort of robotic deterrents might keep them away. Although we've tried a bunch of things with kangaroos, haven't we? And either they're too clever to get around them or they're too dumb to know.
Yeah, just don't care.
They don't care.
Now here's a story for our UK listeners. It appears that in recent times that the hedgehog numbers in Great Britain have taken something of a dive. These cute and quite prickly little wombles of the English meadows and woodlands are in quite a bit of trouble. The issues for hedgehogs are no doubt complex, but ecologists have employed an unlikely tool in satellite technology to take the frontline role in gathering data to lead the conservation strategies. Matt, looking down on these tiny little fellas from 200 kilometres above, how is this going to work?
Yeah, it's actually quite impressive. Now, the hedgehogs are small, so we don't have hedgehogs in Australia.
No, we don't.
We have porcupines, which are kind of a...
Porcupines?
Yeah, big. They're a much bigger version.
We've got echidnas.
Echidnas, but isn't that a porcupine?
No, a porcupine is, I'm sure it's African.
Right.
Yeah. They've got really long quills. Now, the echidnas...
The echidnas have
we've got the really stubby short quills, but you don't want to pick them up.
No, well, you don't. But it's the same concept for a hedgehog, except it's much smaller. A hedgehog's probably 20 or 30 centimetres.
So I actually did the research on this. About the size of a cricket ball, you can fit it in your hand.
This is a new SI
all the
standard
way
cricket
up
ball.
to the size of a football, a rugby ball.
Oh, they get that big, do they?
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
hedgehog? Yeah,
Yeah,
wow. I thought they were things, cute little things you sat in your hand until the pricks
The
got in
cute
you.
ones are. The bigger ones are less cute and
Yeah, right.
a little bit more footballish.
So they are similar to the echidnas in that they've got sharp little pricks there.
Yes, you've got to pat them in only one direction, apparently.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I'd probably just not pat them, just let them sit there. But they do also
It's
roll
so
themselves
hard.
up into a ball, don't they? Isn't that part of their
Yes.
defence mechanism?
From
They roll
what I
themselves in a
gather.
ball and roll away.
And they love to collect garbage from Wimbledon too.
Oh, do they?
Wombles. You never watched the Wombles?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So, University of Cambridge is using some artificial intelligence and satellite imagery. Now, when you say satellite imagery, we know only in the movies do you say make picture better, and suddenly that blurry image from hundreds of kilometres above the Earth is a perfect picture if you've taken it from a few centimetres away. But in real life, that doesn't happen. But there's an AI-powered mapping system called Tessera, Tessera, and that looks at highly detailed Earth observation images gathered from space to give you more information. So what the researchers are setting up is not looking for hedgehogs because they are too small. They're looking for hedgehog habitats to then start to identify how many hedgehogs are around. So the population has fallen of hedgehogs in Britain by about 75% since the year 2000.
75%.
So it's obviously a possible extinction, probably not that close yet, but there are threatened species anyway, put it that way.
Yeah.
So looking for the environments where hedgehogs are, then researchers can get in a bit closer and identify how many hedgehogs there are. Plus, you've got some digihogs. You've got some hedgehogs that have got tiny GPS trackers. Now, given the fact they're only the size of something that would fit in your hand, to put a GPS tracker on there of any size is obviously a bit too large. So they've got these tiny GPS trackers and they can track some of the hedgehogs and see what they're doing. So they're comparing the habitat from AI imagery, from satellite imagery using AI, and then using some of these digihogs to track the individual hedgehogs
And their
to
movement.
then work out, their movement, work out how many are around still, and then work out how they might be able to help them in their habitat. So it is very much good old-fashioned nature with some pretty high-end technology, giving the fact that you're getting these satellite images. And that's what we are getting better at now. We're getting much better at taking images from a long way away and getting enough detail to actually make them incredibly useful. So you only have to look at, if you go back, you can look, I think you've got to install it on your local PC rather than just look at it online. But if you go back and look at one spot, pick somewhere where you live, somewhere that you know in your local town or city, and look at Google images that you see today, and just go back and look at that historical map, and you'll find snapshots of that area every maybe 6 months, 12 months, depending on how populated or how heavily populated you are, and you'll see how low quality they were 10 or 15
the
years ago.
resolution was terrible.
Yeah, and you look at that then and we go, wow, look at this. We've got satellite images, and now we go, oh, that was terrible. What were we all excited
see
about all those
people
years
waving.
ago for? Yeah, that's right. See people picking their nose now.
Yeah.
So it's quite fascinating how we're using Tessera. And Tessera is a concept that allows different research groups. So there's about 100 research groups at the moment that are using the Tessera platform for their various projects. You've got to presumably apply and get approval. You can't just say, I want to watch James Picky's nose. You've got to have something a bit more scientific.
Although, that can be a secondary sort of thing.
right, yeah.
I want to do this scientific thing and I want to see James picking his nose.
If it's a consequence of what I'm doing scientifically, then that's fine. So it's actually quite incredible, I think, that we've got that, but also got the ability for different community groups not to go and launch satellites and have their own camera system, to actually use this open source sort of software and use it for good things like trying to increase the hedgehog population, not the porcupine population.
Fantastic. The invention of e-paper devices was a revelation to some readers. While Luddite Puritans still insist upon ink and paper, I'm sure, e-paper devices have brought a similar experience of reading from paper, with the advantage of having an entire library fitting in the palm of your hand. But the makers at Boox, a company which sounds Scottish but it's actually Chinese, are looking to enhance the e-reader's experience even further. So, Matt, what's the latest there?
This is just
It's
an
Boox.
example. I'm not sure how you say it. I assume it's a kind of a play on books.
Yes.
But it's said with a Scottish accent.
Yeah, Chinese/Scottish.
Yeah, that's right, of course. That good old Chinese/Scottish accent you see so often.
Very common.
So we are incredibly lazy. The society as a whole is getting lazy. We've gone from a physical book that you had to hold, which had some mass about it, some weight about it, and you had to turn the pages. That seems so old-fashioned.
Well, there's a tactile thing about that the Luddites love.
Yes,
Yep?
indeed. Yeah,
Okay.
that's just lumped all Luddites in the category of using a physical book. And then we went to e-books, e-readers, etc., and that was great. You could just a little flick of your finger, and that would move from page to page. The great thing about that is you had every book you ever wanted to read in one device.
Yeah.
You have to lug around these heavy books, and if you finished one book on a trip somewhere, it didn't matter, you just downloaded another one and kept reading. But of course, that turning the page concept was a bit too much effort. So what this device does for you is give you a smaller device again with a button, actually 2 buttons, forward and a back. So I don't need to touch my ebook anymore. I just touch this little device to flick forward a page and back a page. And I would have said, if someone told me about this device 10, 15 years ago, I would have said, what a waste of time. No one will buy this. When it was released, it sold out in the US and sold out in Europe. Now, you can sell out something if you release 2 versions of it, so, or you've got 2. I'm assuming they released tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these, and they sold out. And I thought, where has society gone that we're now so lazy I can't reach all the way forward to where I'm reading my ebook? I've just got to reach a little bit, or maybe just keep it in my hand or in my pocket.
Sorry, so you can have it mounted on a shelf or something that you can be reading while you're perhaps doing other things as well, and then you've got the button just in your hand as, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a practical situation.
No, there
so
isn't
it's
one.
just a remote control that you've got to turn the page.
Turn the page. That's its job. It can turn pages forward and turn pages back.
But we're forever talking about someone builds a bit of technology and it has a purpose to start off with, and then someone comes up with a better purpose later on. This is going to be one of those, I'm sure.
Maybe. So the uses I've seen for it when you try and look for practical uses is if you're reading a recipe book in your kitchen and you need to, while you're moving around the kitchen, you need to just go to the next page of the recipe. Sure.
You don't want to wipe your sticky fingers all over it. You just want the sticky fingers on a button.
There you go. It's happening. I mean, I can see other uses. I know I've used teleprompters, and you can use different things to trigger teleprompters, but they already exist. Those devices, foot pedals, that sort of thing, they already exist with teleprompters, so you don't really need something in your hand to do it.
No.
You've got
It's another thing you can lose.
And they're small enough you can lose. So I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, where have we gone in society that we need a device to turn the
And
pages?
there's got to be a plan B. If you lose the device, does that mean you've just got that one page you're stuck on for the rest of eternity?
What does it mean you've got to go back and use your finger on the screen? I mean, you do get fingerprints on the screen, granted. So, yes, there is that problem maybe, but I thought it was a good example of how far we've come in just creating stuff to make us lazy. Like, if you weren't lazy beforehand, now you'll be lazier.
We're going to end up with fat thumbs. Or actually, no, the thumb will be nice and skinny and lithe, won't it?
It'll be pressing that button forward and back.
Okay. From the moment that Thag Simmons first wrestled a Stegosaurus and paid the ultimate price, hunters have been looking to technology to give them the upper hand in the competition between man versus wild. Now, there may be hunters out there who insist that their sport is all about stealth and the stalk and the skill of the bow or the rifle. But in 2026, we have all these other tools at our fingertips now, Matt. What does the elite bushcraft look like for those modern Elmer Fuds?
It looks like a lot of technology, and maybe the old stick of dynamite in the water, and then you let it go off and upfloat the fish from that. Maybe that's the sort of start of all of this.
Can I just ask, did you get the Thag Simmons reference?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, it's one of the Gary Larson Far Side things.
Right.
The Thagomizer is the back of on the tail of a Stegosaurus.
Right.
And there's a whole cartoon about it. There's your homework.
Okay, good. Gary Larson. So I haven't seen much Gary Larson lately. I don't know if he's still producing.
You've got to read the right newspapers, I guess.
Right. Fair enough. So the idea here is that we have so much technology in our hunting that maybe the skill has gone out of it, and it's just who can buy the biggest tools, who's got the biggest checkbook to buy the biggest tools. One of the ones that absolutely is making a huge difference is forward-facing sonar. So people are spending maybe 75 grand or more on their humble fishing boat to have forward-facing sonar. So you're getting not just the sonar of what's below you, but the fish that are below and in front of you. So you can look with your boat and your sonar to see which direction you should go in. And I've been out fishing. I've been out deep sea fishing. I'm not a big fishing person. I don't have the time to sit there all those hours and wait for something to come along and bite my hook.
Excellent meditation time, Matthew,
sure
and you need it.
I'm sure it is for people who like to meditate. I haven't got time to meditate. So I've been fishing, and one of the things that's interesting for me is I've got a bit of a bait on a hook in some water. Are there any fish there at all? Who knows? It's part of the mystery. I can't see in the water far enough. Let's just, wait up, I've got to bite this. I've got something there. How exciting is that? This takes away a bit of that mystery because you look on your sonar and you go, yep, I can see almost the exact type of fish. Always Mary and Joe down there. Like you can see the type of fish, the size of the fish, how many fish are there. You know you're going to put your hook down there. You're going to pick up one of these fish because you can see them so easily. And so where's the mystery, if you like? Where's the skill in being able to read the water? I don't know if you can read the water, but where's the skill in all of this?
Water whisperer.
Yeah. Right. So that's part of the problem. Some of these forward-facing sonar devices can see fish 60 metres below the surface, and basically you're seeing it in real time. You're seeing where those fish are now. So drop your hook down there and away you go. You've also got things, and we're not really into hunting here in terms of guns and hunting. Australia's not very big on that. I think farmers use it for practical purposes, but there are places around the world that hunting is a sport, and I just don't think it is much in Australia. Maybe I'm a bit out of touch, but we don't
there is a
big on guns.
demographic that love it, but
it's small. It seems to be small in
it's
Australia.
bigger somewhere in other places.
Yeah, there are. So what you've got now is you've got smart trail cameras. They'll submit live images to hunters' phones, and you've got apps that will analyse that animal movement. So basically, you look at your app on your phone and they say, go to this spot over there, because in 5 minutes' time, the animal you're looking for will be wandering its way past there because you've got these trail cameras out there picking up where those various animals are and where they're moving.
Right.
And then some of the scopes, the long-range digital scopes, you've got hunters taking shots at animals from 900 metres away. Now, in the old days, at least there was a bit of the stealth. You'd be trying to be quiet as you were creeping up on an animal, getting close enough to actually have a shot at that. And the animal maybe had a bit of a chance, although rifle versus running away is probably not really that fair a chance.
Bow and arrow from 900 metres is a good shot.
That's right. Go back to a bow and arrow time. You had to get up close enough to be able to have a shot. And there was a bit of a risk for you as well. If you were attacking an animal that could attack you back, maybe there was a bit of a risk there. So it maybe gave the animal a fair chance. But 900 metres away, the animal's sitting there just having a chat to its mates and, standing, if you go back to Gary Larson, standing up on its hind two legs, having a chat to the various cows around there. And next you know, from 900 metres away, bang, you get a bullet through the head. And that's it. So all of these things there. There are some clubs, there's a Boone and Crockett Club founded by Theodore Roosevelt back in 1887. They said, sorry, we don't accept or recognise animals that have been hunted with technologies that are deemed unfair. Now, you could argue that a gun is unfair, but they're accepting of the gun. But when you start to use drones, trail cameras, long-range digital scopes, they're just saying, sorry, we're not accepting that you've actually taken that animal in a fair contest. Yeah. So, again, it's interesting, but technology is happening in so many different ways. So where do you stop? Where do you stop the argument with technology? Yeah. As you say, maybe you had a rock back 10,000 years ago, and that was your tool of choice, and then it progressed to maybe a bow and arrow, and then you had very basic guns, and it was just as big a chance of blowing up in your face as it was of shooting a projectile out, and now we're getting to these technologies. Where do you draw the line?
That's right, and perhaps the people who are making the rules, they get a little bit more lenient each time that there's a new generation of technology that comes out.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Yeah,
so, but it's happening. I mean, fishing rods, we've got graphite fishing rods now. Once upon a time, a fishing rod was a stick that you broke out of a tree. So where do you stop the technology, and can you stop the technology? I think that's the big issue here.
Here's the other thing. You raised a dilemma. If I had the technology to be able to jump in a boat and had that sonar, that could, forward-facing sonar, to be able to hunt for the fish, first of all, to go looking for them, I'd probably use it. But then there's part of me that says, okay, well, if I'd have it, I'd use it. so I'm not going to have it. I'm just going to go out there and just see how I go. And I think that's what I'd do.
And then your mates say, "What'd you catch today, James?" And I caught nothing. And they go,
But
"Well, look what I've got."
I thought about a lot of things while I was waiting for those bites.
You were meditating. And then
I
they
became
say,
at one with myself, and
Oh.
that's what you really want.
and they say, "You're looking hungry, James. I'll share some of my fish that I caught using
You know
my
what?
technology."
I only could catch for sport, and I
Of
always throw
course.
them away. I'm just not a big fish eater. Now, for the AI paranoid, for the people who are looking over their shoulder constantly, waiting for AI to tap them on the shoulder and move in on their career, this story may not ease your anxiety. AI is certainly making some big changes in the workplace, but if there is one thing that AI cannot do, it's agree on whose job they're coming for next. It all seems a bit random. The big AI engines were asked the big question, which occupations are on the line? And interestingly, the answer was far from definitive, Matt.
It's actually quite interesting, isn't it? So, AI, tell me what jobs
What are
you're
you coming
going to
for? Yeah.
That's right.
What are you... Am I safe?
And of course, AI thinks about it and goes, if I tell them the
No,
correct
you are
answer.
not.
So some researchers asked the big three, ChatGPT, Gemini and Claude. So big three. Copilot was left out of that, interestingly enough, and I think Copilot is seen as a little bit differently from researchers' perspective. So they said to the big three, tell us, give us a score, give us a exposure score, a job exposure score for the jobs that you're going to take off people in the future, because that's interesting, and also we should be telling kids at school not to be studying those fields because they ain't going to be there in years to come. And so, for example, they found that Claude ranked accountants as the most vulnerable occupation going forward. And when you looked at something like Gemini, they said that advertising managers and chief executives were the most at risk from AI in general. And again, not AI there, AI tool. And so the researchers kind of dug down deeper into this, and they found that there was probably a bias there in terms of the type of occupation that were using that particular AI tool. The AI tool itself was more exposed to that occupation and went, oh, wow, this is the one that's at risk. So what that tells me is that accountants tend to be using Claude more than Gemini or ChatGPT. And so they think that's where the risk factor is. So there's a whole range of different issues here. But I think that the big thing here is that AI exposure doesn't necessarily equate to complete elimination. It may be different. It may be using that in a different way. And I saw one the other day, which I thought was fantastic, where some councils around New South Wales are buying a robotic line marking device.
Yeah, and I've seen those,
Yeah, fascinating. So line marking is a fairly tedious job done by humans, and sometimes you can see just how focused and how attentive a person was to their line marking, because you look down, you're standing down at soccer one morning and you look down and go, that was the guy who did that on Friday
afternoon. You had to go
afternoon.
around a stick or something because... anyway...
So line marking on sporting fields, there are now devices there that you say you've got a soccer pitch or you've got a rugby league field or you've got a tennis court or whatever, and it will know what that's meant to be and do it incredibly accurately. So the first thing that people say is, oh no, all those people out there doing line marking for sporting fields, their job's gone. But it's not, because the field needs to be mowed, or the field needs to be fertilised or aerated, or it needs to be cared for in different ways. And thank goodness we've got that job taken care of, because we can now use our human skills for other jobs. So people aren't losing their jobs.
That's been the thing since technology became a real thing. You know, we were talking from way back in the mid-1800s, but also the computer generation and revolution, I should say. Yep. People kept saying, oh, this is going to take away people's jobs. This is, machination's going to take away people's jobs. But it's just changed the jobs that people do.
And
no one's laid down and said, oh, I can't work anymore because there's computers.
There's computers, right. But I think the problem is that we also thought that computers and technology was meant to make our lives easier and less busy, but don't we seem to be busier now than ever before?
It's so much worse now.
We aren't doing
Anyone
the
who
same.
remembers the 90s knows that, these computers have just made more work for us.
I mean, you go back before washing machines and people were scrubbing their clothes on a scrubbing board, and, thank goodness the washing machine saves that time. where did that time go? That time we used to scrub our clothes.
Yeah.
Where's that time go?
Well, you just didn't fill it with other stuff because you were too busy scrubbing clothes, right?
That's right.
So we had jobs that occupied us, and people go and find occupation.
They do.
That's the nature of people.
They fill up their day. So I can't give you an answer if the question was what jobs are at risk in general, because the AI tools can't even agree. Who am I to say that I can agree on what things will be taken away from us? But I actually
But if
think...
you're thinking about becoming an accountant...
maybe not.
No, sorry.
Well, I actually think one of the things, if you talk to accountants, one of the things that they don't love about their job is the raw tax calculation part of their job. They would prefer to be talking to their clients about, have you thought about, are you planning this? You could do this better.
Yeah.
That's more interesting than just crunching raw numbers. So maybe
Yeah.
what will happen is accountants will have more time to do some of the planning and analysing rather than just the raw number crunching to calculate the tax that someone needs to pay each year. So maybe, again, that evolution, maybe still be an accountant, but be prepared to be an accountant that is better at planning rather than just straight number crunching. So,
Wise words.
yeah, so lots of jobs out there are at risk, but lots of new exciting roles will come along, like creating new AI tools.
Yeah. And while we're declaring open season on AI and its flaws and picking the seams apart or what it can do and can't do, I hope our listeners aren't putting too much faith in AI security systems to decisively identify the lurkers in your yard. Security cameras have been able to detect motion for a long time now, but it's only recently that camera models have been claiming the ability to clearly identify animals, people, objects. For the better part, they might be celebrating some success, but when they get it wrong, it plays a bit like a blooper reel, Matt.
It does play like a blooper reel. And this is the thing, we are putting a lot of trust and faith in AI. And I do love when we use it for security cameras, because if anyone puts their new security system in, might be their doorbell, might be cameras around their house, they spend a lot of time watching it because they want to see what's happening out there. And then they realise that the cat at 3 o'clock every morning walks across their front yard and triggers an alert off, and they go, I don't really care about that cat, but I really would like to see a cat burglar, but not so much the cat. So a lot of security systems employ AI. I'll look out for you for that cat burglar, and I'll ignore the cat because I'm intelligent, I can do that, and you just have a sound sleep. But of course, it doesn't always get it right. And so some examples I've got I thought were quite interesting, although when I say interesting, they could be a bit scary for people. So there was one Houston user who got some warnings that a neighbour's house was on fire. So you'd probably want to do something about that, like ring, in our country, ring 000 and say, can you please get a fire engine out because my neighbour's house is on fire. Maybe you might try the neighbour. Maybe the neighbour's not home at the moment. So, oh my gosh, your house is on fire. I don't think I'd love to get that phone call from one of my neighbours because I'd be a bit concerned about my house on fire. Some deeper analysis of that turned out that at night time, some red brake lights near some traffic lights looked about the same as a house on fire.
Yeah.
And I've seen, for example, brake lights in cameras. Cameras aren't great. Typically CCTV cameras aren't great at night time. And so it gets a bit flooded with this signal.
Yeah.
And you can just see how it could confuse that because it just floods the entire image with the red brake light. So
the red brake light, and if a yellow indicator or orange indicator is involved there too, there's a flickering flame for you.
Exactly right, that blinker going on and off. So that was one. There was another one that identified a tornado. So again, make sure we batten down the hatches. But it was just a lovely reflection in a window of some clouds in the sky. There was no rain even around. There was some clouds in the sky, but somehow that reflection had been warped enough. They thought it was actually a tornado. So you've got things like humans being mistaken for bears. So back to the old bears again. Dogs for pigs, raccoons for bears, fluttering flags for wildlife. So there's some wildlife coming into your yard, but it's just the neighbour's next door flag fluttering away.
Boring.
Now, when you say that we have common sense, well, let's assume that most humans have common sense. You and I both know some people that maybe don't have a lot of common sense, but AI definitely doesn't. AI analyses these images and says, I know what that visual pattern is.
Yes.
That is a fire or a certain animal,
Tornado.
whatever it might be, a tornado. But it just doesn't have the context and the reasoning and the common sense to go, is there really a tornado? Let's have a look at the sky. Because if you and I thought we saw a tornado, we would probably listen for the wind of a tornado, look for the rain of a tornado, look for up in the sky and see mostly blue sky and a few
I
clouds.
wonder how that AI responds to being called an idiot.
Well, I had an argument the other day with AI where it told me something and I went, no, I think you mean the other way around. So it was basically trying to put two things. It was an alphabetical order, and I had a question about how the apostrophe was used in this particular name. And then it said, no, you ignore the apostrophe and here's the alphabetical order. And then it gave me in the wrong alphabetical order. And you think, how can that be?
Idiot.
And I said, I think this should come before that in this alphabetical order sorting. And it said, yes, that's correct. And I went, but hold on. A minute ago, you said the other way around.
You lied to me.
That's right. And so I just like to get AI to sometimes say I got it wrong. And so it took me about 3 or 4 goes before finally it said, I made a mistake in that first one. I said, how can you make a mistake in something as simple as alphabetical order, the alphabet? Give that to a kindergarten kid. It knows the alphabet. How can you get it wrong? So just don't put all your faith in AI, whether it be brake lights or whether it be alphabetical order. That's a problem. But going back to this particular story, Wise Labs, WYZE, has said they've got descriptive AI alerts as part of their subscription package, and they've got about 13 million users out there now with their devices. Ring has got over, this is Amazon owns Ring and Blink now, they've got over 100 million active Ring and Blink devices around the world. So their cameras are out there and they're making mistakes like this still. They'll get better as they learn, but still,
I'm going back to the boy who cried wolf story. Yeah. So my security camera tells me I got a tornado and I brush it off. It's just a cloud,
That's
you idiot.
right.
And then everyone gets blown away.
That's right. The next time it says tornado, go, I know what you did last time. So you're right. Maybe we should program some boy who cries wolf language into these devices. Don't keep giving me those warnings unless you're serious about it, unless you've double checked it. So there is still a gap, I think, between what we as humans can do with some common sense and what AI is doing at the moment.
But it's learning. It's trying hard.
It's trying hard, and it will get there. That's the scary part. It will get there.
And the blooper reel, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's all we have time for today, folks. The timer has ticked down and the final siren is ready to blast. Thanks for a cracking tech talk, Matt.
My pleasure. I'm going to go and do some more research on Australian animals just to make sure I understand echidnas and porcupines properly.
And some more dad jokes for the future too, please.
Definitely.
And thank you, one and all, for tuning in this week to Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk is made in Australia from locally sourced ingredients, so we thank you very much for supporting this ripper little Aussie podcast. I'm your host, James Eddy, signing off on another episode. We'll be back again next week, as we always are, with another fresh episode for your enjoyment. We hope that you'll be back to join us too. In the meantime, take care, and we'll see you when we see you.